Hello and welcome to another Cinematic Universe live watch-along. For those who don't know us, and I think there are probably a few people watching this time who don't, we've been doing these for the last couple of weeks. We are a podcast called Cinematic Universe. We're a podcast all about comic book and superhero movies, as you may have gathered. Our shtick is that we talk about them in the context of the comics that they were based on and that sort of thing. We have a mixture of comicsy people and movie people appearing on the podcast to talk about things. For the last couple of Fridays, we've been doing watch-alongs streamed onto YouTube for our Patreon subscribers to watch along with us, and then they go onto YouTube afterwards for everybody else to watch. We decided this week to open it up wider for people, just because it's a bit more fun, really, and just so people can get a sense of what they're about. And we're doing Into the Spider-Verse, which obviously is a film that everybody loves and everybody wants to talk about. We have also got a very special guest, which, as I say, I imagine is the reason that a lot of you are here, and that's why a lot of you probably need explaining what Cinematic Universe is. We'll introduce our special guest in a second, but just first we'll bring in the rest of the regulars. So first, this is James. James, say hello. Hi. James, hey. Regular co-host of Cinematic Universe for the last 5 and a bit years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it doesn't look a day over one. Amon Warman, film journalist, writer for Empire and many other places, and appears on the radio and the telly talking about films to a frankly embarrassing for the rest of us level. Amon's joined us for the last couple of these, and Amon, I gather you're a little bit excited about this film.
Just a bit. I'm a bit of a fan.
I mean, we all are, right?
Well, yeah. So this week, Joe and Caroline, who've been on the last couple, were unable to join us. So we decided to look around and see if there was anyone who could maybe join us as another guest to talk about this, because we know, how many people enjoy this film, and there'll be lots of people out there who'd want to talk about it. And then I realised that James and I know this guy on Twitter, and he knows a little bit about Spider-Man. Like, he's written 1 or 2 things about Spider-Man in his time, and he's very kindly and generously agreed to give up his time to come and join us. He is audio only. This isn't a glitch, but you'll enjoy how he's been represented on this stream. Please give a very big welcome to the fantastic Dan SLOTT.
Hello!
Boom, boom, boom!
My amazing spider friends.
Is he on mute again?
And I've realised that this we could actually be conning you all here, and this could actually just be someone pretending to be Dan SLOTT. But look at the icon.
Look at the icon. No one else but me can use that icon.
Exactly. I mean, it was either going to be you or John Mulaney, basically. So.
Yeah. Oh man, I would have listened to that.
So again, I mean, I can't imagine that anyone watching this doesn't know, but in case you don't, obviously Dan is the current writer of Iron Man 2020 and Fantastic Four, but perhaps more relevant to this particular film, for just over 10 years was the writer of Amazing Spider-Man, except for that period of time when it was the Superior Spider-Man, with a record-breaking run on that title. He started as one of the rotating writers on the Brand New Day era, and then took over solo in, was it 2010 with Big Time?
Yes.
And then did that all the way up to 2018, issue 801. So pretty much, as big a figure as it gets in Spider-Man comics writing. And also, again, relevant to this film, the man who coined Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Here's a bit of trivia right off the top of the head. Spider-Verse was originally going to run in Superior Spider-Man. It was going to be a Superior Spider-Man arc. And Marvel put a stop to that right before we were about to launch. And they went, wait a minute, this is going to launch in Superior and not Amazing? And we're like, yeah. They're like, oh, no. So it got shelved for 1 year until Peter Parker came back. So there you go. And then there, boom. Legend.
And you posted on Twitter earlier today a really enjoyable thread, kind of explaining some of the background of how the idea for Spider-Verse came about, and how actually it was inspired by the Shattered Dimensions game, which I think was quite an interesting. That was a bit of trivia that I hadn't seen before. Did you coin Spider-Verse as the title for it? Was that an editorial thing, or was that when you had the idea in your head, Spider-Verse was what it was going to be?
That was me. I'd been pitching it to Marvel like ever since we worked on I worked on Shattered Dimensions. When I was working on Shattered Dimensions, it bugged me that the 4 Spider-Man couldn't interact with each other. And I called up my editor, Steve, from BNOC Studios in Montreal and went, we should do this in the comics, and we should do what they can't do in the game. We should use every Spider-Man ever. Like one of my big fights on the video game was to get Spider-Ham to appear in it. And I was like, I want Spider-Ham, I want Spider-Man 2099, I want Spider-Man Noir, I want Miles, I want everybody. I want it. Can we get Spider-Man from Japan? Can we get like every Spider-Man that has ever existed? Spider-Man India. I want all of them. And then it became a thing. We went to legal and we looked at how many Spider-Man we could legally get. And we were 7 shy. There were 7 Spider-Men we were not legally allowed to use from 50 years of alternate Spider-Men around the universe. And we did a really good job of hiding them in the background of one story. So it's everybody.
So then this movie, the movie that we're about to watch, and again, a couple of people have said it in the comments, so in case you're not sure, yeah, we haven't started playing the movie yet. We'll do this bit of chat. We will tell you. If you all have it synced up on your devices at home, we'll get it all queued up and paused at the start, at the beginning of the Sony logo, and we'll count you down to hit play. So this movie comes along. At what point were you aware that this was happening, and specifically that this was going to be Spider-Verse, that it was going to use the title, and that it was going to be about alternate universes?
Oh man, I have to be really judicious about what tea I can spill.
Spill all the tea, Dan, all the tea.
I was aware for some time they were working on a Miles Morales movie. And then one day I got a call from editor Nick Lowe, who let me know, no, they're going full Spider-Verse on this. And I was like, what? And in that moment, it was really cool. I was like, I can't wait to see this. They're gonna Spider-Verse it up. It's really hard for me to talk about it, because a lot of stuff you have to tiptoe around, spoilers and secrets, which must be taken to the grave, or at least for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you won't accidentally drop any in excitement when any moments sort of happen in this film.
Or will I?
At a rough estimate, how many times have you seen this?
I have made a point of watching. I went crazy about this. I know you guys probably feel the same way. This is like one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Yeah. It's, for a long time I was on the fence, like this or live action Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock. I was like, and then I'm like, no, it's Spider-Verse. It's Spider-Verse. I made a point of watching this in every format possible. I got to, along with a lot of other Spider creators, I got to go to the premiere in LA. Then I jumped on a plane and got back to see the Marvel premiere in New York. Then I saw it in 2D, in 3D, in 4DX, in IMAX, in IMAX 3D, and I shelled out the coin for Spider-Man 4DX.
Wow.
I saw it in every possible format you could possibly see it in the theaters. I don't think as an adult I've seen a movie more in the theaters than Spider-Verse. The best version, just so you know, was Dolby. It was Dolby.
Yeah, no doubt.
And those big plush reclining chairs, they're awesome.
No, the sound system for Dolby is serious.
Oh, don't get Amon started on sound. When you were wondering before we started if your audio and your version of the film was going to be coming through onto the feed, surely you could watch this on mute from the sound of it. You wouldn't actually need to be reminded of any.
I know. A lot of times I work with the beautiful soundtrack on in the background, or music from the movie. It's on my playlist when I'm walking down the street. So I'm like, "What's up, danger?"
We'll get started imminently. I'm going to presume you can't answer this, but I'm going to put the question up on the screen anyway that we've had as a comment from YouTube. Are you able to list the 7 Spider-Men that you couldn't use?
Okay, one I will mention is I was not. We didn't want Spider Zombie from the Zombieverse. Marvel, I had complete legal rights to it, and we just didn't want it. It was kind of like, that's gross. We don't want that to be in Spider-Verse. So there was no official Spider Zombie that appeared. There are illegal Spider-Men that have been done by other companies. Logically, we couldn't use Spider-Boy, who is the amalgam character of Spider-Man and Superboy from the Marvel DC event All Access. We could not do that because, DC owns half of that. The others I will not mention.
And I have one other question before we get started, which I'm just going to put this up on the screen just to show how our friend Abby is embarrassing us in front of Dan Slott. But Abby wonders if she has to have watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-1-Verse, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-4-Verse before watching the Spider-5-Verse.
That's my clapping, Abby. That was well done.
Right. We should watch this movie, shouldn't we? That's what we're all here to do. And why do you want to listen to us talking without watching the movie at the same time? Because the movie's amazing and awesome. So if everybody is queued up at the start of the film, we'll do a 3, 2, 1 play countdown. So hit play on play. Don't worry if you're not incredibly synced up, because we're not doing specific commentary as such. We'll be reacting to things as they happen. I was surprised that by the end of Endgame, we were reacting to Cap and Mjolnir pretty much simultaneously. So that was let's see if we can get the same here. Also, for those who were watching last week, so far, at least before starting the film, my laptop monitor has not died yet. So this is already an improvement on last week. It also hasn't done it again since that night, so I have no idea what was going on. Let's not dwell on that. Let's start the film. So if everybody's ready, we'll count down 3, 2, 1, play. And the thing about this is you can't even really skip over talking about the logos at the start, because they do this amazing, it immediately makes itself like the most comic book movie, on the Columbia logo.
It's just so clever in so many ways. And you think about how many sort of Spider-Man films we had already gotten at this point. And before this movie came out, I'm sure I've read an article or two saying that we're being oversaturated with Spider-Man, especially given that this year there was also a Spider-Man game. Spider-Man was also in Avengers Infinity War, and then we had this movie at the end of the year. But then to sort of start off with let's do this one last time, immediately poking fun at itself for telling the origin story again, but doing it in a very humorous, fun way to start the movie. It's just if you had any doubts going into this movie, it would have been allayed within the first 3 minutes. It's just great. Just great.
Absolutely, just inspired casting for this. And I can't remember
Chris Pine.
I can't remember how far in advance, if at all, I knew this was going to be him.
I didn't know.
By the time I went, I did know, but it's perfect. It's just, and I love this platonic ideal. This is the combined best of Peter Parker, and it's like this.
You say that, but he's about to dance, and that's not the best of Peter Parker.
Which is one of the greatest Spider-Man moments in history.
No, it is not. Take it back.
It's wonderful. It's intentionally funny. It's let's not get. We've done Spider-Man 3 on the podcast. Let's not get into the argument again. Actually, although I wouldn't mind if people in the comments, if we want to sort of try and have some kind of democratic thing of, is that bit in Spider-Man 3 good or bad? Because
it's wonderfully bad. It's bad that you will always remember it. But
I'll accept that.
We had a bit in Superior Spider-Man where he got possessed by Venom, and that became the Peter visual, and we kept calling it the Spider 3 dancing visual. And it was like evil Pete. I love it.
This is such a great introduction to
straight
Miles.
in with him.
Before he even says a word of dialogue, I mean, if you call singing dialogue, but even the way he's singing is just perfect. Oh, I love this movie. I'm gonna be saying that a lot during the next couple of hours, but it's true.
There's just like instantly just so much character there, and the style of the animation helps, but it's just so lively, and you get this sense of him, and like the kind of the awkwardness as well. It's just
the voice acting, everything about this is perfect. Their entire cast for voice acting is perfect. And this is Lord Miller having yet another movie with a proud cop father. It's they Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I know they've done it somewhere else. It's just like I love them. I love them so much.
Also, a little bit there with and again there with Spanish, but with no Spanish subtitles, which I kind of like. Nice
the beauty of Miles Morales of what Bendis and Pacelli created is it is another Spider-Man where you get to. There's so many people that could go. That's like me. And for some people, the moment it clicks on is when the Spanish happens, and for other people, it's when they just see Miles. It's great that he means so much to so many people.
Absolutely.
It is that just getting into that sort of that core thing of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the hero who could be you, and like that's just the entire heart of this film.
That's represented very differently now than it was in the 60s, but it was true then, and it is true now.
Yeah. A couple of comments, just actually picking up on something that I was thinking as we were kind of going through that sequence with him, like just how, and again, like Dan, this is maybe something that speaks to you more, but it's just it's really New York in a way that the Spider-Man films haven't always managed to be. It's just so immediately there,
I love this line coming up with great ability comes great accountability is a great line. There it is.
That was what was missing from Amazing Spider-Man 1, was it? Or 2?
Yeah. I can't remember if have they said it in MCU or not.
Said what?
The great power of ability.
Oh,
they haven't.
This drives me crazy.
Really?
No, it has been shortened for with great power comes great responsibility. That is not the actual phrase. It is with great power there must also come great responsibility, and it has been shortened down over the years. I'm a purist. If you spell Spider-Man without the hyphen, I think you. That is the correct phrasing.
No, spelling Spider-Man without a hyphen is grounds for blocking, reporting,
As the classic Jamie tweet goes, you got to hand in your nerd gun and your nerd badge. You're off the nerd cake. I definitely don't want us to spend too long in this, because this is definitely positivity, and I don't want to spend too long ragging on the Amazing Spider-Man films and the issues there. But yeah, I mean the fact that this isn't that, there is no way that Miles is a chosen one kind of narrative. Again, it just comes back to that that he could be he could be anyone watching this who can identify with him in some way. Could also be him.
Yeah. Love the little touch with the Air Jordans.
What I like is you get to see the exact same thing he did back home here, and it's not working.
Yeah.
This is the exact same walk, the exact same pattern. And I love that it mirrors it. And then you see that again at the end when he's walking around as Spider-Man. It's like you get to see the payoff of the third time. Oh, they're so good. Lord Miller is so damn good.
Their scripts are so brilliant.
Yeah.
Every script they touch is great.
Joe from our podcast refers to them as the all-powerful Lord Miller. way before this film, he had spent a long time being excited about the fact. I think of the three of us, despite the fact that Joe was the less comicsy guy on the podcast, he was the one who kept saying this is going to be the one to watch out for because it's Lord Miller. And we were like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. It's Miles, but it's animated.
But
I didn't notice this until like my fifth rewatch. But look at where he's standing and look at the background. They're hiding Octavius.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, it's the attention to details like that which just elevate this movie to masterpiece level for me. It's great. But yeah, no, it's so funny going into this year. It was Black Panther, Infinity War, and Spider-Verse. The gulf in my hype between Black Panther, Infinity War, and Spider-Verse was massive. Like I didn't really get. I loved the trailers. I was excited, but Black Panther and Infinity War won another level of hype for me. And then the night before,
be like the best of that year.
It's the best. It's not even close. It's not close. I like, but
I mean,
yeah,
it's 3 5-star movies. I'm not sure we'll get a year that good ever again.
2022, man. You got Black Panther 2 and Spider-Verse 2 for one.
Fair.
What? Assuming nothing gets pushed back, which might happen given everything that's going on.
Oh, here's a question. Spider-Man could be anyone, but is it a prerequisite that Spidey has to be smart? Is that the thing that
Oh man, that's a really good question. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say, and we've seen what if stories where like Flash Thompson gets it and he's stupid, he's just dumb as a post, and he dies. But that's no. It's all about the power and the responsibility. You definitely have to come from New York. You have to come from New York, though. I'm sorry, everyone in the UK. Spider-Man will always be a New Yorker.
Oh man,
yeah.
Man,
what about Spider UK? Yeah.
I know. I created Spider UK. That's obviously some British version of New York in that alternate dimension.
This is true. It's more just that he's sort of that. He's an Anglophile. He watches Doctor Who.
Oh, did he catch the Donald Glover really quick cameo? You missed it.
I think I missed that.
They snuck in a shot of Donald Glover in the Spider-Man pajamas from Community. It's on Aaron's TV.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's actually Brian and Sarah's inspiration for Miles. Was when Donald Glover was saying, "Hey, why can't I be Spider-Man?"
I really like what they do with Aaron in this, and it's not to when I say it's kind of, I think it's an improvement on the comic. That's not to denigrate the comic, because I do love that original run, but there's more dimension to him here, because he's not just in that comic. He's just more of a straight up bad guy, but I really like here that you can see why Miles likes him so much, and even though he is who he turns out to be, right the way up to the end, he's not just like completely horrible, basically. And I think that's
the beauty of having a second draft, right? Because you get a chance to look at that story and go, how can we tweak it to make it work slightly better?
The recent Miles Morales comics are also doing a lot of really interesting things with that Prowler Miles relationship. Adding some complexities there. I'm really enjoying it.
A couple of people pointing out that Spidey UK is from York or Yorkshire. So it still works.
I don't know if he's still Spider UK after Brexit. I don't know how that works.
You'd definitely be more suspicious of him. It's like poor old Captain Britain. It's like there ended up being so many jokes about him in the wake of Brexit. There ended up being a whole Twitter thing where people had decided it would be hilarious if there was a Captain Britain, and the rest of us were like,
Captain Britain's a her at the moment, Seb.
Yeah.
Now, you have to realize that Uncle Aaron works for Alchemax. Alchemax has the spiders. Uncle Aaron takes him down here to do the painting. So it's all of one piece. And there's the secondary collider upstairs when Miles comes back looking for the spider. What? So the whole reason he is Spider-Man in this universe is because Uncle Aaron is an evil hitman who works for Kingpin. Wait. That can't be right.
A nice bit of subversion coming up here. He gets bitten by the spider. Thinks it's a big moment. He just swats it away.
Yeah.
I always wondered why he didn't get paint on the clothes. Every single time.
Just very careful.
Yeah, it's just good.
Mahershala Ali is just so good as Uncle Aaron.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued to see what his blade is gonna look like. Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that's SWAT. The way it just makes the spider small again, and just like, I really like that. It's only after, and it's coming up fairly. I mean, I think it's even. I remember noticing. I think the first time I saw it, that it's only after the bite that we first see him do a thought caption, like a comic style thought caption.
Right. Yeah.
But it's even as the bite is happening is when we first get that visual of the panels on screen as well. It's like he's become a comic book character the moment he gets bitten by the spider.
Right.
And yeah, that's weird with the caption. It's brilliant.
So smart.
Yeah.
You can freeze frame basically every single still of this movie and have it could be a poster. It's just amazing.
A couple of different people like just talking to you about the visuals, making the same point about the distortion. Instead of blurring, like the focus is done with the distortion of the backgrounds is yeah. And yeah. I think I slightly got this with the visuals as well.
There it is.
I love all the word balloons and the captions and everything they do to make it feel like a comic. Oh, I love the bit. She's way too tall coming up.
And this is the best version of Gwen.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the best version of so many things. We were talking beforehand. It's just like
this is I had Spider-Gwen in the version of Spider-Verse that we were going to do a year before. And we had a thing where we were going to do all these side projects before Spider-Verse actually launched. And Jason Latour and Robbie Rodriguez and Rico Renzi had they pitched a mini series called Spider Ben, like a one-shot about where Uncle Ben got bit. And it was one of the times where I, as the writer, stomped my foot and went, they can't do that. Because we had a spider-powered Uncle Ben in Spider-Verse who was a surprise. And we wanted to keep it a surprise. And they showed me the pitch. And it was such the author showed me the pitch. It was such a good pitch that I was like, oh, man, they should be doing something. You know, I haven't done any development on Spider-Gwen. I just have her be a Gwen who's bitten by a spider. Why don't they flesh her out and they do something with it? And Nick Lowe assigned them Spider-Gwen, and they came up with everything about Spider-Gwen. The look, the visual, the feel, her world. They made her what she is. And the character had become so popular from just her first appearance that I had to change what I was doing in the story because I was going to kill her.
All right.
And they're like, dear God, do not kill Spider-Gwen. People are already making the costumes and cosplay. She has to live. So, yeah. Oh, God. And that's all because Jason, Robbie, and Rico created this character. Yeah. I love this.
Serendipitous.
The bit with the photo of the security guard and then the security guard comes down. It ever so slightly reminds me of Timothy Dalton with the photos in Hot Fuzz. Spider Bells. That was nice timing with this film coming out around Christmas and like being able to go on Spotify like a week or so after the film came out and Spider Bells being on there.
You buy the album because they put out an album.
Yeah, I've got it. It's in my iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Gwen's haircut gets an origin story.
Oh, the timing second.
It's definitely it's not a Spider-Man Powers Discovery sequence that we've seen before, is it? And then the comic, like, because that's it's something in general I've kind of gone on about this before that one of my favorite things about Spider-Man And I even so I years and years ago I won a competition to plot a Spider-Man story for Panini for the Marvel UK stuff when they used to do their own stuff.
Yeah.
And part of what I based it around, it was about a kid who was a fan of Spider-Man. It was called The Amazing Spider-Boy, and it was about a kid who was a fan of Spider-Man. Because what I've always loved about Spider-Man is the idea that in the Marvel universe, Spider-Man is popular, like with people, and there's merchandise, and like, you know, even if sort of like the media and stuff are tearing him down, like ordinary people love Spider-Man, and naturally there would be Spider-Man merchandise and stuff, even if he wasn't directly doing it, which obviously the Chris Pine version does in this. But it's not something that the films have ever been able to explore, because they're always about a young Peter kind of starting out and sort of on his way up. And the fact that this has got the Chris Pine version to do that with, tearing down, like ordinary people love Spider-Man, and I'm coming back to you down the audio there. The Spider-Man merchandise, and so even if he wasn't directly doing it, which obviously the Chris Pine version does in this, but it's not. I'm just going to mute Dan for a second because I think I'm echoing back.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not me talking. I'm got the Chris Pine version to do that with. No, it's still doing it.
It's probably connection issues. I'm sure I'll catch up.
Even if he wasn't directly doing it, which obviously the Chris Pine version does in this. I'm just going to mute Dan for a second because I think I'm echoing back.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Hey, there we go.
Wait, why is that happening? Is that from me?
It's coming from you. I'm in a weird kind of endless feedback loop on your. But I don't know if we're also on a delay now.
Well, stop that.
I'm just going to mute down for a second because I think I'm echoing.
Oh my god! I think this is you from an alternate universe.
Yeah. It's coming from you. I'm in a weird kind of endless feedback.
Why is
I'm going to remove and re-add.
Stop that.
Oh
my god! I think this is you from an alternate universe.
I'm now hearing the whole thing again. What's going on, StreamYard? What are you doing? It's coming from you. I'm in a weird kind of endless. Right, I hate having to mute our special guest for a minute, but let's see what happens if it sort of if it settles down in a minute.
nice to come here into the Sebverse.
This is a nasty version of the Green Goblin.
Yeah, it is.
Right, I hate having to mute our special guest. Still happening, and it's also slightly behind.
Do you want to tell them to X out and try logging back in again?
Dan, I think you might need to do that. If you try exiting and coming back in, that'll hopefully sort it out. Oh, he's gone. Let's hope he comes back, or that view account is going to drop dramatically as well. Anyway, what we've got here is Miles meeting Peter, which is like, we've also managed to miss almost the entire bit of the film that actually has Chris Pine, Peter A. Parker in it.
Yeah.
This is more the Ultimate Green Goblin, isn't it? Rather than,
I feel like probably the thing that doing this Goblin gives you is the opportunity just to not have to think about Norman Osborn very much. He's just kind of there as the Goblin. Okay, Dan is back.
Hello.
Hey, there we go. That's worked.
Just in time for the origin.
Yeah.
I love Chris Pine. And the minute they do the reveal when they pull off the mask and he's blonde, and you go, what?
It's Ben Reilly.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Monstrous Goblin with purple pixie hats. Yeah, as I say, Dan, I was just saying as you came back on, we were talking about the fact that obviously this Goblin, we're not really getting a sort of an in-depth Norman Osborn here. I think using the Ultimate Goblin is a kind of convenient shorthand for kind of having the Green Goblin there, but
Oh, but everything they did, like their version of Doc Ock, their version of Kingpin, it's also good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, well, we're going to get to it, but of the many, many things that are incredible about this film, that Doc Ock reveal, that's one of those things that you just you could be experiencing for the first time every time you watch it.
First taste of Daniel Pemberton's Prowler theme here.
Oh, with that kind of elephant sound. That kind of, or is that a rhino? You know what I mean? That kind of.
I get it.
And then they cheat, and they use that sound when Peter B. Parker is coming up behind Miles, and you go, "That's a cheat, man! You can't use the Prowler theme there." You.
But Daniel Pemberton for me is a top 5 composer working right now. He's sensational.
I remember watching this, and I'm sitting next to all these comic book artists, and we at the premiere, and we all start freaking out because that's Bill Sienkiewicz Kingpin. Like they didn't go for any Kingpin; they went for Bill Sienkiewicz Kingpin from the Daredevil graphic novel. You're like, we all started freaking out, and then of course you find out that Bill Sienkiewicz helped him out in the art department.
I didn't realize that.
That's a deep cut for comic book fans.
Yeah. But actually, like a Sienkiewicz kind of style for all of this sequence that's all about all the kind of glitchy distortion and the lines and everything.
Look, it's the first ever appearance in a Marvel movie anywhere of Kirby Crackle. And you're like, that's so cool. Google it. Go! You're listening to Kirby Crackle with a K.
Kirby Crackle. I'm gonna do that right now.
First ever appearance. It's the weird cosmic effect that Jack Kirby would draw with dots. It was so great watching this the first time, surrounded by Marvel artists. I was watching with Giuseppe Camicoli and the guys who worked on the Penny Parker book and Spider-Man Noir. We're all sitting together in a group, just big geeks, Jason Latour, Robbie, and we're all like, Kirby Crackle! Look at it! Look at that Kirby Crackle!
They animate it so well as well.
Did you catch all the glimpses?
Right.
Did you catch the glimpses of all the future Spider-Man you were about to meet?
Yep.
Yeah. I love this movie.
It's so beautiful, like all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're slightly ahead time wise because I'm just on Peter in the Rubble, and Dan. Okay, so maybe if I tell you what, I'm going to pause for about like 10 seconds. But just I really like again. It's that last moment of this Peter is like so together. Like so quickly, he sort of, he tells Miles kind of exactly what to do, and it's like that. This is our kind of last glimpse of this like hyper competent Spider-Man. And then
he knows what's coming, and he knows what he has to do.
Yeah.
And again, for a movie to establish the stakes like this and take a risk and kill Spider-Man on screen, this is the second time in the year that Spider-Man would die on screen as well.
Yeah.
Spider-Man fans,
yeah. That must really affect small children.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mommy, we're Spider-Man.
The first time we saw Infinity War. The crying children coming out of that. The crying adults coming out of that.
Oh, Ash, one of the commenters, has just told me not to pause because he skipped ahead in order to catch up. Doesn't matter. We're in roughly the same. We're talking about moments. It doesn't matter if it's exactly as they happen. But as we do, we'll try and say what we're talking about rather than just this bit because then it's clearer. But similar comment to what you guys were just saying. Couldn't believe they killed Spider-Man in front of kids. Right in here. But it's good for to use the cliched phrase. It's good for stakes. It's
Yep.
The point is that we've just seen basically the best version of Spider-Man, and he's just lost, and that really kind of tells us how big the problem is here. And a good, again, I'm on kind of Prowler's introduction here, but just really kind of good at making him menacing straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Have we lost Dan, or is he just being?
Oh no, I'm here. I was just
just enjoying the film.
Into the movie.
It is. I mean, this whole sequence just
kill that guy. It's like Liev Schreiber. He's so good.
Yeah.
Man, look at the use of shadow.
Yeah. Okay.
I love how colourful it is all the way through as well.
Yeah.
Well, so someone commented that sort of the sequence there where Peter dies is actually all of a sudden it's like a lack of color. Lack of color. You know, the movie's so bright and colorful, and then that moment in the rubble, everything's just got that slightly grayer, washed outness to it.
Yeah.
As an adult, we're coming up to one of my problematic scenes of watching this movie.
Okay.
It glamorizes a kid jumping across subway track. And I'm like, no, never do this, children. This is bad. You are not Miles. Never, ever do that. I really feel it glamorizes that and makes it look cool. Don't.
I think, Mahershala Ali's going to be ahead of Chris Evans, isn't he? So even if it depends if you count Chris Evans playing Loki or not. But
yeah, I think probably not.
It just feels like at every moment the people are like, how can we push this? How can we make this more interesting? How can we do something visually dynamic? And
they did the Banksy joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, it just feels like at every moment that they're pushing this to make it something more interesting, more visual. Nothing is just like plain or just there. There's always something interesting, whether it be dialogue or visually or musically. It's really impressive.
And everything feels like a choice. And I mean, I guess kind of with animation that kind of is probably generally more true anyway. But just there's nothing like aesthetic about this movie that doesn't feel like an intentional choice to
Absolutely.
be part of the storytelling at every single point.
Did you see they did some behind the scenes stuff with the animators, and they talked about how they animated on frames Miles versus Peter, like to show that as they were doing more and more frames of Miles as the film gets further along, so that the animation becomes smoother as he becomes more into the role of being Spider-Man.
I love that.
There is so much stuff you can do a deep dive on every level of this movie. The amount of love and effort that was put into this.
We just got, again, I think we're slightly ahead of you, Dan, but I'm just on the Stan cameo now, which is just...
I think you're slightly ahead of what of us said.
Right, I'll pause it again then. It isn't damaged behind.
You're really ahead, man. I'm just... My mom just kissed him.
Just on, we interrupt this
Yeah,
broadcast.
that's why I'm
okay. How have I got ahead? I mean, I did the countdown.
I still believe you're the Seb from an alternate universe.
True.
Echoing in from the future.
He hasn't got his beard anymore, so at least he's the good one.
Great musical choice.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of.
We are perfectly synced enough.
It's
That
just,
shot of just the fingertips dropping off, that's really great. So subtle.
right, in which case, all tell me when he puts down the costume on the counter and Stan Lee picks it up, and then I will know.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Gosh.
Here it is. It's coming.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait. And now.
No. Yeah.
Right, we're back in time.
Wait.
This
Well, like this song, Stan Lee
was the
cameo.
first cameo after he passed, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's so perfectly judged because it's just that the glitch,
it's the no refunds. On the
because it's like it's affectionate, but it's not like too schmaltzy. It's like, this is Stan Lee. So
here's the thing you need to know when you're watching this movie a billion times. they hid Stan a zillion times as a background character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everyone kept thinking Stan.
That's not the only cameo in this movie of Stan Lee.
Yeah, he's all over this movie a million times. like when Miles webs the subway, when he's dragging Peter B. Parker behind him, one of the guys, you have to look really close, in the subway car is Stan. When they land on the ground and people are walking around them, one of them is Stan. They were sticking Stan everywhere in this movie. This is like a zillion Stan cameos. Yeah, so pull out your copy and just watch it a frame at a time. And look, like, where's Waldo?
This always makes me laugh.
That line, but it's such a line.
This always makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna jump. He's gonna jump. No, he's not.
and we're coming up to another cameo of the number 42 will appear again. Yeah. 42 appears in the comics because Bendis and Pichelli that's the number when they picked the lottery to get him into Brooklyn Visions. He gets the number 42, and they chose that number because of the first African-American baseball player.
Oh, wow, it's not Hitchhikers.
Okay. No, it's not a Hitchhiker.
I've always assumed it's Hitchhikers. Well,
no, you just assume because Jackie Robinson's number was 42.
Okay, wow, okay.
And this was the first African-American Spider-Man. So
that makes more sense for Miles Morales, to be honest. And it's sort of, you know, even as a big Douglas Adams fan, that's better. That's a better fit.
That's why there's that hidden meeting of 42, was that Brian and Sarah stuck it in there.
Yeah.
We're coming up to that Prowler cheat.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, James, this is a good point. People have been talking about Ang Lee's Hulk and the panels. We haven't done Ang Lee's Hulk.
No. Ang Lee's Hulk is horrible. So, you and
I are on the same wavelength today. This is good.
Yeah. No, it's headache inducing. It holds your hand while it shows you comic book visuals and panel flips. And wait, here comes.
We've not yet covered Ang Lee's Hulk, but we.
But no, it just reminded me that we hadn't, and we're running out of stuff to cover. But we will have to get to that, and that'll be interesting because it does have its fans. But
wait, we're coming up to the Peter B. Parker and the gut and the pizza and everything that's wonderful about him. The dad sweat.
This is the Spider-Man that I could be.
Well, yeah, this is very, very much. This is the 30-something dad, Peter Parker, and like those of us who grew up reading Spider-Man comics and thinking, "Wow, I could be Spider-Man one day," and then you pass that point where to paraphrase Wicknail, there's a devastating moment when a man wakes up and realizes, "I will never be Spider-Man." But this guy, you could be.
This is the most Spider-Man-ish stuff possible. It's like sitting on the gargoyle and drinking your coffee.
and it's also it's not like
he's Jewish, yay! Spider-Man.
Like this Peter being a bit of a hopeless loser, like that's not contrary to the spirit of Spider-Man, because it's Peter Parker's look, and it's the, you know, being Spider-Man will make Peter Parker's life worse. Like that's the thing that he accepts in order to be Spider-Man.
I can argue this point forever as a Spider-Man writer, because a lot of people say Spider-Man has to be one way or the other. That some people view Spider-Man as the release. Like he has this life as Peter Parker where he's underfoot, and when he gets to be Spider-Man, he gets to swing and be free. And other people treat it like, oh, if only he could just be Peter and all the great things he could achieve with his science and his life and putting everything in order, but Spider-Man gets in the way. And the answer is it's both. You know, just the same way you feel different ways on different days. Spider-Man, sometimes it's a curse, sometimes it's a blessing. Sometimes Peter Parker gets in Spider-Man's way, sometimes Spider-Man gets in Peter Parker's way. Glitching pizza.
The gut pizza Peter Parker is everyone after 3 months of isolation.
He saves the mask, and then he tried for that slice. He tried for that last slice. He tried
We breezed past it, but TGI Spidey's such a funny joke.
Oh yeah.
James.
When did you guys get into Spider-Man?
When?
Oh, it was with the Bambi movies. I was I was 12 at the time, Joe. James.
Yeah.
Was like 2001? That the first
2002
movie?
was the first one. Yeah.
2002. So yeah, that was around that time is when I started getting into comics too.
I don't really remember not reading Spider-Man. It's just like because I was a comic book fan as a kid from my dad, and so just inherited a lot of stuff. And just I couldn't tell you the first Spider-Man comic I read because it was just
mine was the UK. It was a reprint. The first Spider-Man comic I read was a reprint of an annual where he fights Carnage.
Oh man, you guys!
And he's got like a giant sort of gun at one point. It's hilarious.
We had in the UK in the mid to late 90s. We had it's still going now, but it's the UK reprint comics that would sort of with a cardstock cover. They would collect kind of 2 or 3 issues of the US titles, and it would usually be like about a year or 2 behind. And when it first launched at the beginning.
Wait, look really carefully. There's a stand in that car.
Yeah.
I love that he runs right into his own grave, which is great.
Yeah. So that Clone Saga, I think, was how a lot of British people might have first discovered Spider-Man because they would have picked up those news agents. It was
out at the same time as the cartoon, so it was kind of
the 90s cartoon.
That's what I was going to say. I think the 90s cartoon was my first introduction to Spider-Man.
Which
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man.
Oh man. That series bugged me because he had short sleeves as Peter Parker, and then he'd turn around a corner and turn into Spider-Man. You're like, where was the costume? Short sleeves. What the hell?
That whole version of Peter was very like
together.
It didn't look like the comics Peter. It had a very distinctive visual.
my entry into Spidey was the '67 cartoon in syndication on TV when I came home. So the post credits for this mean the world to me.
Oh yeah.
But look, there's a stand in there. There's a stand on that street if you look for it.
Yep.
Someone's we all knew a gag that I'd never spotted before.
Even as a kid, I definitely saw the '60s cartoon. But
it's the theme tune, isn't it? Everyone knows it from.
It made me a fan like the '90s one did.
Theme tune is great. The greatest thing that we ever got in our lives because of the Spider-Man movie franchise was the Michael Bublé version of that song. You can have your Aerosmith, you can have your Ramones, you can have They Might Be Giants, you can have anyone you want doing a cover. No, that Bublé version, that's all.
Here's what I'll say about the Spider-Man. Go ahead, James.
Say, like, the MCU films still reference that theme tune. Like, it's so enduring.
Oh god, yeah. They had that gorgeous whole orchestra of it for the current version.
As much as I, enjoyed the "I Will Always Love You" gag and "Far From Home," I was really bummed that we didn't get to hear that orchestral theme again at the beginning of "Far From Home." I was looking forward to it, but hey, it's all good.
One of the true origins of the Spider-Verse movie is at the same time I wanted to do Spider-Verse, Brian Michael Bendis wanted to do a Spider-Man Miles team up across dimensions called Spider-Man. And editor Steve Wacker said, okay, but Brian, you should write that with Dan because he's writing amazing. And Brian and my styles are so different. We kind of looked at each other like we psychically knew we do not want to work together as writers. This would not be a good mix. This would not be peanut butter and jelly. This would be peanut butter and caviar. This would be horrible. And caviar being Brian, of course. And we made a pact. I said, I want to do this story called Spider-Verse a year from now. And he was very protective about Miles, about letting anyone else write Miles. And I said, you let me use Miles where we do everybody and you use Peter for just the two. And that Spider-Man mini was so good that that's the basis of this. That's the heart of Spider-Verse. It's the relationship the two of them have.
I think that series is where I think things really clicked for Miles as well, and it's kind of got the moments with him sort of. It just really feels like that's like the last piece that clicks into place and really kind of makes him. I love that series.
It was really good. Part of the deal was that Brian was still very protective, and I wanted to use Miles a lot in Spider-Verse, and he was like wanted to keep me down to like a cameo because we didn't want to do a Spider-Verse movie and not have Miles in it, a Spider-Verse comic series.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to use him more. And Brian was like, can you just a cameo? Just a quick cameo. They'll show up for a panel. And then Spider-Man was such a big hit, and Spider-Verse had gotten delayed one year. Brian wanted to do Spider-Man 2. And I went, okay, but we get to use Miles a hell of a lot more in Spider-Verse. I'm like, fine. He's like, okay. And I remember Joe Quesada, our editor-in-chief, going, you made your deal, Brian. You made your deal.
The thing is, Spider-Man probably made it worse in the sense of, like, once you've done Spider-Man, and if there's going to be a story about different universes, versions of Spider-Man, people are going to want to see that interaction again. People are going to be annoyed if you don't get to see Peter and Miles interact again after Spider-Man.
My favorite thing, there are like these key moments in the Spider-Verse comic series that are I love this sequence, but that I will just remember forever. And one of my favorites was I teamed up Miles, Ultimate Spider-Man, with the cartoon Ultimate Spider-Man, and they went to Spider-Man 67 World to recruit Spider-Man, and just that whole sequence. That's like one of the only pages of art I own from Spider-Verse in that style. I'm tweeting that up.
The question I've got here is: had anyone else other than Brian written Miles before Spider-Verse, or were you the first other than him?
They'd had him show up in Ultimate crossovers.
Oh yeah, of course,
here and there.
Question for you, Dan.
Yeah.
What did you make of the treatment of Miles in the Spider-Man PS4 game?
Oh, I worked on the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
So, I was loving it. I saw they were keeping it as wait, this is the whole reason I have this song that I bought it off iTunes. It's just because of that. Like, I want the St. Elmo song. That's got to go into my Spider-Verse playlist. Oh my God. I like how Spider-Man realizes he's sexist in his master plan.
Yeah.
I love that. Why did I get stuck to it? Again, I don't know exactly like why did I get stuck with the janky broke old hobo Spider-Man? That's such a line.
I like how he's typing two-fingered as well. Amazing.
Yeah. There you go, Dan.
Bagel's the best joke in the whole damn movie. And the sound.
I agree.
Yeah, it's the biggest sound effect, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The whole movie was freaking the greatest movie of all time. But that bagel bit, that puts it over the top.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, it's that language of comics. And in a sort of, I know it maybe seems obvious to do a comic book sound effect gag, but that's a step along because it bagel is not a noise. It's a very it's the only other time I've really seen anything like it is the stuff in Scott Pilgrim, and obviously the stuff in Scott Pilgrim the film is so drawn from what the comic did, but it's just
the greatest sound effect of all time will always be Alan Davis from the comic book Excalibur, where he blew up their bathroom and the sound effect was bathroom. Like, everything else has just been a pale reflection of that.
Yeah. I'm just enjoying some of the jokes here with where they're in the vents. Have you guys got them in the vents? Have we gone out of sync again?
No, they're in the vents.
Because we are about
a double feed
reveal.
When this happened in the cinema, I couldn't believe it.
I gotta say, I'm digging Doc's scarf. I just love how it subverts sort of all the cliches that come with the genre. You know, it's regular Spider-Man stakes, all that sort of stuff. It's great.
That's the thing, isn't it? This film assumes you know a lot about Spider-Man and are already in
and
love with Spider-Man.
And it can do that because it's Spider-Man. It's like everyone has got some level of Spider-Man awareness. You know, when that first Raimi film came out and was immediately the biggest film in such a long time.
Did you notice that all the lights in her lab have 8 sides? They put way too much thought into everything.
I love it. I love it when
again someone's commented here. Her glasses are octagonal.
Yeah. I love it. I love it when all the clues are hiding in plain sight like that. I just rewatched The Prestige the other day, and that's another film which has many clues as to what's really going on right in plain sight. And it's just really clever storytelling.
But it's just like it is just you would not have seen it coming, even though you've just had the line about examining your personal biases and like not assuming that one will be male or female, and even that is a clue. I feel like before this film came out, I'm sure me and James had talked on the podcast about, because of our shared sort of love, if that's the right word, of the Clone Saga. And the female Dr. Octopus that was around for about 5 minutes, Carolyn Trainer.
Still around.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not to sort of like be overly flattering, but one of the things that I enjoyed about your run was the number of times that characters from that era showed up. You brought Stunner.
Stunner, yeah.
Cardiac.
You brought Stunner.
Stunner. I had so much fun.
Because the Doc Ock stuff from that time, like that death of Doc Ock when he gets killed by Kane, is one of the best bits of that whole era and run. But yeah, so even as someone who's a fan of the female Dr. Octopus in the comics, still didn't get this.
Oh, every time I look at my desktop.
Oh, dear.
This is setting up the gag of good news. We don't need the monitor. Love it. Oh wait, this is the moment you want to see.
So good.
And one of the things that I think that did get quite widely picked up on the internet was my friends call me Liv line.
And then Aunt May calls her Liv.
Exactly.
Story. There's some that we don't know, and that's good. That's comics.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse 2. Just saying.
And there's Gwen. What's she doing there? Set up.
Yeah.
That's one of those yoga balls.
We all just laughing at you. You don't need the monitor there.
Yeah.
Oh, we're about to get what I think is possibly the most enjoyable action sequence.
Oh god!
Through the fall.
It's also about character and their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Look at the walk now. Oh my gosh.
I get that a lot.
Just frame this in your mind. Here it's coming. It's coming. Wait.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah. You think I'm bagel?
It's weird. The swinging in this is so different to what they do in the other movies. Yeah, it works just as well.
Yeah.
And the whole color scheme now that we're in this like fall setting in the snow, it's like it's a completely different palette. Everything about this movie is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
How are they going to top this Spider-Verse 2? It's going to be a question I'm looking forward to seeing them answering.
I would just watch an entire series of Jake Johnson as Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'd like to see, kind of his Spider-Man on an up rather than like on his down.
But the thing is, even though he's like the sort of schlub version of Spider-Man, like when he's actually doing the superheroics, he's got it nailed. It's just the rest of his life that's not in order.
Yeah.
But again, it's like because Spider-Man is all of us, and we have good days and we have bad days.
Okay, now for all you people who study Save the Cat, and how dare you're wrong. But we're at the halfway point of the movie, and this is where Miles is now stepping up as Spider-Man. So it's like, boom, halfway point.
Yeah.
So, do not read Save the Cat. Stop that. Don't ever listen to anyone. But if you do, make note. You guys know what Save the Cat is, right?
Yeah.
It's the screenwriting.
Shove that in a shredder. It's why every movie you see feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's hard. Once you know the structure, it's hard not to notice it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
here it comes. Oh, the music cue.
Yep.
God, she's badass.
Yeah, it's an entrance.
It really is. Haley Steinfeld.
They should build shrines to Robbie Rodriguez for that design of that costume. It's the best costume design in like the past 2 decades.
Yeah, it's so hard to like make new superhero costumes that look iconic, and he just nails it.
Because it's not, other than the fact that it's got webbing on it, it's not anything. It's not based on anything else. Like, okay, she's got the eyes in the mask, but it's completely from scratch. The color scheme, the shape of it, every element of it is completely from scratch, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that you need to know is my proudest achievement in all of comics is that I didn't kill that costume. I had Spider-Gwen in my head for a year before they ever worked on the Spider-Gwen one-shot, before they added the magic pixie dust that made everything work and created this thing from scratch. And my Spider-Gwen was in a red and blue palette spider costume that was based off of the Death of Gwen Stacy trench coat and thigh-high boots.
Okay.
with a half mask and a headband like Gwen would wear. It was very much, if you can imagine that set of clothes with a Spider-Man pattern. And that's where she'd been in my head for a solid year before these guys turned in this new design without seeing the thing that I wrote. And I saw this, and my immediate reaction to it was, that's not the Spider-Gwen in my head. No, they have to redraw it. They have to redraw it. That design will not go. And it took different people at Marvel pulling me aside and going, you are insane. This is the best costume ever. And to my credit, when after hearing this from 4 people, I went, really? And then I looked at it with fresh eyes and went, I'm an idiot. Yes. Let them do whatever they want. This is great. This is gorgeous. So my greatest contribution to comics ever, no matter what I've done in my life, is I did not kill Dixon, Robbie, and Rico's costume design.
Speaking briefly of contributions, because this is literally just something that just occurred to me after.
Wait. This is like watching Bill Sienkiewicz animated. This is beautiful. This is freaking beautiful. This is like, if you get a chance, look at the Daredevil graphic novel. The idea that they had every version of Kingpin to pull from, and the Lord and Miller and their art team went for that. It's such a deep cut, and it's perfect. It's beautiful. It's just look at it. Oh, Have you seen people cosplay as that? It's great, where they build the
really? Like with
the body higher than the neck?
Shelters, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen people do that at cons, and you just go, God bless you. I've also seen someone dressed in a lab coat with a bagel attached to their head, and it sounded.
Oh man, I just googled things of it.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Oh, and I've seen great Dr. Octopuses like Liv. There's been so much great cosplay out of this movie and their beautiful design. We've all seen the dad bod Spider-Mans walking around.
Well, again, it gives us that opportunity with those of us who look like that can actually.
I saw a woman walking around where she was cosplaying as I'm trying to remember what character, but a character from the movie, and she had her baby in one of those Bjorns. And she had the baby dressed as Dad Bod Spider-Man with mismatched shoes, and it was just the most adorable thing. Baby Dad Bod Spider-Man.
I was just something that jumped out at me. Well, Kingpin made you think of that, and what made me think of was because I saw the Alchemax on his pen and reminded me that because Alchemax, because that's from 2099, isn't it?
Yep.
And were you the first one to bring that to the present?
Well, yes, because I'm. I was. Not only that, we explained it in the present because Spider-Man's mentor Max Modell owned Horizon, and Liz Allen, who had inherited all the Osborn wealth, her parents owned Allen Chemicals, so we did Alchemax. We really went around the horn for that. That's
something that probably wouldn't be the case in this film. Like they probably wouldn't have used that in this if it hadn't already been in your.
We brought Alchemax into the present so we could set up Spider-Man 2099 stuff. That was a long-term goal, and we introduced at the start of my big time run the character that would clearly be, if you know your Spider-Man 2099 lore, who would be. Tiberius Stone, who would be Tyler Stone's grandfather. Mm-hmm. You went, boom! You want to have all these long-seated, I was talking through the Aunt May scene.
I love May in this.
Oh my God. Lily Tomlin is so good as the voice of Aunt May. This is one of the best Aunt Mays ever on film. And we have had a glut of fantastic Aunt Mays, from Rosemary Harris to Sally Fields to Marissa Tomei. There is even the actress in Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Every Aunt May is freaking perfect. We have not had a bad Aunt May ever, and Lily Tomlin's one of the best. Look, Spider-Mobile! We're coming up to my biggest geek out moment when I was in the theater. When they lit up all the costumes, I was like, "Oh, one of my costumes!"
You made that one.
Because I'm there like about 3.
I was so freaking.
There's the game win in there. I didn't spot that.
Yeah.
That's. Yeah. I just love how also it just, skips past, complicated plot stuff by just having them already know. Like Aunt May, I think I'm from an alternate dimension. Yeah, I know.
Because the audience knows it's okay for characters to know.
And because she knows that Peter, who is the sort of the advanced level Peter. Here we are.
But making Aunt May Miles's version of Q from Bond, that's a great role for her. There's so much cool crap in here. I love this movie.
One of the conversations we always have is who should be the MCU Uncle Ben.
I mean, I'm still pretty settled on Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is who we went for.
Did you know they when they did the flashback to Peter P. Parker to the one scene of Uncle Ben, they used the actual audio track from Spider-Man.
Sorry, where am I going with this?
Wow.
Amazing line.
They looked at that audio. Oh my God! Look at these guys. Penny Parker created by Jared Way from Romance.
I love how when those into the, what were they called, the Edge of Spider-Verse, all the miniseries were coming out, and because everyone knew that Gerard Way was doing one of them, the assumption in advance was, well, that's going to be the one. That's going to be the one where that issue is going to sell out. It's like there's going to be a Gerard Way created Spider-Man character. And then Spider-Gwen comes along an issue and just blows that out.
One of my favorite parts, the Spider-Man Noir flashback.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, wait. Nicolas Cage, Jesus.
I'm also now. I'm just loving the presence of John Mulaney, because like when I first saw this film, I was not the fan of him that I am now. Like I was vaguely aware of him, but I wasn't as massively into him and his work as I am now. So hearing him do his shtick as Spider-Ham now is like a joy.
When I was working on the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game, my biggest fight was getting Spider-Ham into the game. And when I was working on Spider-Verse, it was like, no, we're using Spider-Ham all over this, and we're being serious.
Yeah.
And then
you would not have that battle now after this film.
We were fighting, and then when we did our WonderCon panel promoting the game, they opened the floor up to questions. Every question was about Spider-Ham. They're like, is Spider-Ham going to be in the game? Because you saw that visual. Is there more Spider-Ham? And I've been fighting them for weeks and weeks on this, and then they finally gave in. And then we were backstage. The people from the developers from the game were all hugging me, going, "Thank you for putting Spider-Ham, making us put Spider-Ham in. Like, you understand your audience." And I love that this has gone on to so many different iterations. Like, there's been Spider-Verse cartoons and Ultimate Spider-Man, and now the movie, and sequels in the comics, and Spider-Ham keeps living on. I'm like, okay, I did something good. They stuck Spider-Ham in this, and I kind of like watching this more than anything. I go, if I hadn't done any of this, you would not have had John Mulaney Spider-Ham.
Well,
I immediately went on Skype and reached out to my artist, Marcos Martin. I was like, bulletproof Spider-Man suit is in the movie.
Someone literally, that comment just come up.
Yeah. I was like, dude, because of this movie, you could then it's in the PS4 game. You could buy hoodies of it. We're like, it's only appeared in 2 comics ever, and I love that. Bit of continuity. When Miles pulls at the cape and he's like, "This one has a cape," that is from an issue of What If, where Spider-Man stopped the burglar, but he's that was going to kill Uncle Ben, but he stopped him. For selfish reasons, because he thought it would be good publicity for his entertainer career. And he becomes an egotistical entertainer without Uncle Ben's death. And that's why he has the cape in that universe. So that's where that comes from.
Just gonna, I'd love to know sort of how the conversations about getting Nick Cage to do that happen, because it's so I flashed it up before, but just someone had the comment that actually after all this time, finally in a single year, we got Nick Cage playing Spider-Man and Superman, and just it's just perfect. Anytime you need that tone of sounding like they're serious, but knowing deep down that they're not actually taking it too seriously, like you can't get much better than Nick Cage for that.
It's true.
I just think how much he must be enjoying himself.
That was the Ramita soup. There's like hidden Spider-Man references to creators throughout this, and I
caught Bendis on the window as well there.
Bendis, Ramita, and when you look, Ditko was just on the phone. Everyone on the rolls are Spider creators. It's great.
Are you in this one?
No, but characters I created and things that I did are, and I think I used up all my my karma in that my name appears
kind of more rewarding, really.
My name appears like multiple times in Far From Home, so I'm good.
I'm just going to duck off for a second, but carry on.
Cool.
Okay, he's gone now.
affecting stuff.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah. I really love Prowler's design in this as well. Very menacing.
Aman, you must have known coming into the film.
Oh yeah, that he was on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, imagine watching this film without that foreknowledge.
Oh,
it's
God,
true, you know. It's true.
That's a big twist coming up for anyone who's not a comics fan.
It's very, very true. Man, that theme. Pemberton, man. When it comes to using sort of, sound effects and even the DJ scratches in this movie and combining that with the orchestral stuff, he's just exceptional.
Well, it just sounds so modern, doesn't it? It sounds really unique.
Yeah. But I will say, I love his Spider-Man theme in this. I think I actually prefer the Spider-Man theme in the PS4 game by John Pisano.
It's
great.
The soundtrack for that, even if you never played the game is amazing. It's one of the best PlayStation games of all time. But buy the soundtrack. It's great just to have in the background while you're writing. It's so big and epic.
Yep.
Okay, pretend we were talking about him.
Gosh, Seb is just terrible.
Words. You can totally hear the flush in the background.
We had some comments while I was gone as well. I thought you'd just carry on without me, but
we should mention, by the way,
I love how
is Guy Buckland from Den of Geek. Very good writer.
There's all these wonderful alt universe things about Miles's world.
This movie, man, insane.
Like how the police aren't the NYPD. Like the letters are all jumbled around, so it's different.
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, and there was when arrives, there's the Coca-Cola sign. Like Coca-Cola's got like a slightly different name as well, hasn't it?
And we just saw a different name for FedEx on a truck.
It's RedX,
slightly different. Oh, I love all this.
I'm surprised Sony didn't have do their product placement with like change the Y to an I or an E or something. Nice touch.
I love that.
Okay. Spider-Man Noir hypnotized by a Rubik's Cube.
We're about to get the teacup bit. It's just a tiny touch, but I love it.
We were just saying, Seb, imagine coming into this film and not knowing that Aaron was the Prowler.
Yeah.
It'd be such a big reveal.
It is a shame that you sort of that's comics knowledge that you have. But...
Yeah.
Oh, poor Aunt May's house.
Oh, great. It's Liv. It's such a great line.
Yeah, that's again, I bet I was a bit ahead of you there, but it's just I really like that, just that subtly. I don't know, people on the internet have kind of gone to town on that implied history between them, but I like it, and not least because it's a reference to that classic thing of them nearly getting married. So,
I love all the people who've taken this bizarre leap for /fic or whatever, where they're in love. They're a couple. And you're like, what? From one line? What?
I mean, it's from one line. Yeah, it's great.
But it's the Spider-Ham moment that kills me. His poor Aunt May's house. Here it comes.
Oh, look at the visuals.
This version of Scorpion is something completely different from any comics version, I think.
The ultimate in the Miles ultimate stuff, there is a kind of Mexican gangster.
Yeah, he doesn't have the robot.
He doesn't have the big. This is weird because it's like that crossed with the Matt Gargan tail version, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre the power level changes. Like who can beat the Scorpion, who Scorpion's better than like Aunt May can take out, Tombstone with a bat. Yet now 5 guys need to go up against Doc Ock. It's like it keeps changing, which is cool, which is like comics. You gotta wonder what is Miles's dad's patrol route, that he can be in Queens, he can be in New York, he can be in Brooklyn, he gets patrol everywhere, and you don't care.
Maybe he's secretly got powers.
It's a commentary on the underfunded public services.
Exactly. It totally works for people who don't live in New York.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, yeah, this is, again, something we talked about on the podcast at times, but movies and their London geography. So, and it makes you wonder sort of, how bad it is actually living in New York and watching films where the geography must just get messed around with all the time.
There is a movie called The Cowboy Way with Kiefer Sutherland about 2 cowboys who end up in New York and they have to fight drug lords. And in the finale, Kiefer Sutherland pushes a New York mounted policeman off of his horse. So now he gets a horse. So, hey, he's a cowboy. And then he's racing to save Woody Harrelson. And I saw it in a theater in New York, and we were all laughing our asses off because we're like, wait, he's uptown. Now he's downtown? Now he's in Chinatown? Now he's over here? Wait, now he's in the Bronx? It was a magic teleporting horse. And at one point, he's clearly in New Jersey, and you can see Manhattan across a river. It's across a river. And at that point, everyone in New York watching this, we're all watching this in theater, and we were in tears, the whole audience. And this is not as bad. This is good. This is perfectly fine.
And speaking of good, just this miles an hour and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like
Mahershala in this scene just breaks me, man.
I kind of wish there had been like at least one scene or a flashback between Aaron and Miles's dad. Because their relationship,
Spider-Verse 2.
It's always it's always told about in the past, and we never see it.
And I think,
when
I think
they interact in the comics is always really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That relationship's great. Yeah. And I really like the sort of the sudden kind of tragedy for Miles of the fact that the time between discovering that his uncle is this supervillain and him dying is so incredibly short, and he has like no time to process that, and it's like he has no time to deal with that in any way before this happens, and it's just
and the moment where Aaron's turn, where he finally sees it's Miles, and the choice he has to make, and
it's impressive to have given Miles an Uncle Ben moment that is so different. It's like it is the defining the Uncle Ben moment for Miles, but it's not just rehashing the same story. It's a completely different story that still manages to teach him the same thing and put him in the same place.
Yeah, well, the same thing of like you could have.
Yeah.
There are places online where you can download the Spider-Verse script, and it's worth, as a writer, just taking it apart like a car engine and seeing everything Lord and Miller did. Just to go, wow, how did they pull that off? Where did they set that up? Where did they pay that off? It's all so good.
And yet, apparently, what they were doing with Flash wasn't good enough for what they wanted.
I knew the minute I saw the Lego movie that I was like, because when I heard that the Lego guys were going to do Spider-Man, I was excited. I was like, you made me care about Legos.
Because you're the guest, I won't complain about you using the plural there.
Okay, thank you.
After the Jump Street movies, I was fully on board with what Lord and Miller was saying.
Yeah, they're great. They're just really...
The end credits of 22 Jump Street remain one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. So good.
One of the things that's coming up that's just wonderful is that they let Spider-Ham have the serious moment.
Yeah.
Wait, here comes.
It's hard not to just want to watch the film, isn't it?
They originally had a joke there that
Really?
was like his uncle like ending up in a fryer or something, or a luau, and it was funny. And they realized, no, this isn't where a joke goes. Oh god! But
this joke is so funny. The visuals.
They also realized that Penny does not have the power to wall crawl, so she has to be sandwiched.
Yeah, and that's the best visual moment of all the animation styles together. It's
Right.
Yeah.
such a shot. It's like, think about this. You said earlier about how, like, I think Amon, you said, you could literally just screen grab I think like every frame of this film makes that one perfect shot Twitter account redundant.
Yep.
There isn't one perfect shot in this film, but I think if I had to pick one, that one of them on the roof might be it.
No, the thing is,
No. If I pick one, it'll be the one with Miles's leap of faith.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. That is the one perfect shot for me.
you could have had a movie that was just Miles Morales. You could have had a movie that was just Miles and Peter Parker. And there's just levels and levels on this. And then that you have a movie with all these different Spider-Man in all these different styles. It's just, there's so many facets to this gem. It's so ambitious, and it pulls it all off.
I can't believe that we've now had 2 different Spider-Man movie universes that have got Genki in without having Genki in. As Ned, and I don't know if do they name his roommate here, but he's not the same character.
They don't, but I saw in interviews they couldn't, because they couldn't have this guy show up who was Genki, and then everyone would go, "Isn't that Ned?" So they had to find a way to do Genki without Genkiing him.
Yeah,
and I think they found a really good medium ground here. That he feels like an original character.
Yeah.
And he does everything Genki needs to do by the end of the movie.
I like that bit of setup, because you haven't really seen much of him, but I like that. That's a new setup, and the sort of introducing himself to him, and it's okay. I look forward to seeing where they go with that.
Look at this setup right now, where they've webbed him up, they've webbed his mouth, and now the dad's going to show up. I just
this scene. I've forgotten this scene. Actually, with his dad,
it rips your heart out every time. It's so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for me as well, like parent stuff, especially fatherhood, is my weak spot. I didn't sort of cry in this particular scene, but I did, got all the feels. The last film which really made me cry profusely was the last 15 minutes of Coco. Just destroyed me. Utterly destroyed. I was finished. But yeah, this is still a really emotional scene. And again, Brian Tyree Henry, who was having himself a year at this point, he was in everything, and he's great in this as well. It's just so well cast, top to bottom.
I was going to put a YouTube comment up, and I'm going to wait until this scene is finished to put it up because I don't want to puncture.
Don't want to step on it.
But again, just the amount of character in the eyes, particularly. Like, there's so much. It's never still, and it just
Wait.
There's just so many sequences in this movie. It's like how I imagine like a perfect choir when everyone's in sync, from the bass to the altos to the music to the orchestra. Everyone is just on their A game, in sync, and it feels like that is the movie version of this in terms of the editing, the acting, the music. Everything is in sync. There's so many sequences like that, and it's just incredible.
And I love that they're not action sequences. They're not, it's character, it's comedy, it's this, it's that. I loved watching this in theaters with families, and you just see everyone of all stripes, all ages, everybody engrossed at different moments.
Yeah, I love the way the just at the end of that scene, it's like you're captivated by just the dialogue and the shot of Miles's dad, and it's that cut then to the split with the wall. And
wait, this is one of the greatest sequences in Spider-Man movie ever made. This entire sequence, this is perfection. Oh, it's so freaking good. And the music and everything. Jesus.
Get chills over here.
Someone remarked on this, but it's true. It's like it wasn't possible to sit
some
and talk over
sequences
that,
you can't step on. Like, you just have to take them in.
It kills me. Like some of the greatest superhero movies of all time have been animated, and we don't make more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this where we have a fight about
Here we go.
Phantasm?
No, typically I don't like it when movies
wait.
have dialogue. No, I'm just going to shut up. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Can't stop it now.
Multiple people have commented on the fact that you can't get the exact version of this track as it is in the film, and it's like, why not?
And this is when the animation, like the animators are saying, this is when he finally catches up to the Peter B. Parker animation cycle.
Yeah,
I love that reversal of then when he's falling from that building, there's and when he's going up the building, there's whoa, and he got the letters to the cone up. That's great.
The Trust U.S. Bank. The Trust does.
I was just gonna say that deeper facing. Typically, I don't like it in movies when the dialogue we've just heard, 3 minutes earlier is repeated, but that actually works in that sequence. Really well.
And he finally earns his comic cover.
He gets his own comic. Yeah,
that moment with the comic cover landing,
so
and
beautiful,
the fact that everything together, it's just like they planned it, guys.
It's coming up to one of the scenes that they cut, where they show you how Spider-Ham was secretly there under the cover, like he was on the plate.
Right.
And they don't sneak in, and they cut it. And you see the storyboards for it. You can see the animatronics for it. And part of them went, "Yeah, we're not going to show Spider-Ham with like an apple in his mouth under."
Now that we're back in a lighter phase of the film, I can chuck these comments. There's been a discussion going on in the YouTube comments about James looking like he's in Star Trek.
I was going to say.
Oh, we're coming up to the Mary Jane moment. You know how seahorses mate for life?
And then James, because you dropped off the feed for a minute.
Yep. I'm willing to do a Star Trek live stream any day of the week.
I'm not. Yeah, this is the. I really like. I'm a big fan.
Gwen being annoyed.
Yeah.
Of course.
Alternate universe storytelling is a thing that I really like. I love things about like parallel universe and parallel dimension stuff. And this thing of a character having a conversation with a different version of a character because they can't have that conversation with their version of the character. It's a tale as old as time, but it's always really good.
As old as time.
You just know some of those extras are so specific, they've got to be the animators of their friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, the music. Pemberton's music is so good.
It's so good. I think my favorite track is plays over when Miles is, and I think my favorite track is probably the final couple minutes of the movie when Miles is really coming to his own. But the entire score as a whole is really, really great. And then the soundtrack as well is pretty good too.
I love that they keep showing the characters like up to this point, like glitching a little just to remind you because they're building up.
That's still a thing.
Yeah. God, I remember pitching this and people were like, for the original story, people were like, so they're all just going to have spider powers and they're all just going to be swinging around?
Yeah, as if that's a bad thing.
No, like, the idea being like, wouldn't you rather have it like Secret Wars where they all have different powers, or Crisis where there's going to be 5, going to be a bunch of Spider-Man? Like, yeah, why not?
I really liked Spider Island for similar reasons.
Oh, thanks, man. that kind of became part of the origins of Spider-Verse, because once we kept upping the ante. We did Spider Island, then we did Ends of the Earth, and then we're like, universe. Island to Earth, because the longer you're on the book, you have to keep upping the stakes.
I do think slightly that this point of the film is where it sort of it remembers that it needs to have a plot of some kind, and everything up to this point has been just so. It's just been brilliant character stuff. It's just basically, here's a load of absolutely amazing character stuff and character moments. But there does have to be this threat. There does have to be something that they have to come together and sort out. But it's almost a shame that it has to have that. It's not there's not anything wrong with what it does here, but it's just, I would have been perfectly happy if the entire film was just like...
Right, here comes the hero moment. This is
allow me to introduce myself. My name is Miles.
Yay!
Yes, Spidey! Boom!
That moment right there, that just sold 1 million Halloween costumes in America. And suddenly every kid had to be Miles Morales for Halloween.
They do something to. I mean, obviously, there's earlier on. There's when he's kind of wearing it with the hoodie and stuff. But there's something about how they do Miles's costume in this film. It's like it is the costume from the comics, but it's just got that bit more energy. And
the cool thing they made Miles an artist in the movies, and the idea that he designs this kind of graffiti style spider. Ties it all together. It makes it his costume.
That is the big difference, isn't it? Yeah, and I think that's like what gives it the life more so than the.
Like I said before, that you get the second draft. So,
and I like
that aspect.
They match the Kirby Crackle color scheme to whoever's universe it is. If you're paying.
Oh, nice.
And so much of that is Robbie Rodriguez's Spider-Gwen costume. So, Robbie Rodriguez, take a bow.
Did he color the Spider-Gwen book as well?
Rico Renzi colored it, but Robbie came up with the basic costume design. So gorgeous, and I was an idiot. All you people watching this, you need to read the Jared Way Spider Penny Parker, because it's such a different look. It's kind of cool.
I don't know why more hasn't been done with it, and then off the back of the film as well.
Oh, we've done
the Penny Parker comic.
We've done some a book called Web Warriors, which was all very Spider-Verse-y. We've done Spider-Geddon, that was the sequel to Spider-Verse that I helped my friend Chris Gage, who took the center stage for that. We've done some new Spider-Verse comics where Miles is clearly the lead. There's stuff out there. Get on your computers, order some trades.
You're still buying off
I'm
comics.
just surprised there's not more. I don't know exactly if we're all in sync, but I've just had the fist bump between Miles and Gwen.
Again, you're ahead.
You're way ahead.
What am I getting ahead?
Are you watching it at faster speed? Are they all talking like?
I genuinely wonder if I'm watching it on Sky.
You just hit the fist bump right now.
There's the fist bump.
Yeah. I think I must, because even there's been a couple of times where I've paused it in order to let you guys catch up.
Yeah, here comes.
You've refed a moment. I think this
reaction.
Okay, wait. This is great because not only did they call back to the Watch the Hands, but now he does the exact same thing that Peter Parker, the blonde-haired one, he does all of his moves. So he's now at excellence level. He's now moved up to. It's the exact same animation frame, the same. Look at that. It's everything that Spider-Man did.
Same score too.
Yep.
The outside around Miles when he's swinging around in that bit with all the color around him as well is just
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. It's not just me. It's obviously on the skybox. It's a faster frame
slightly
rate.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we got more of these guys.
Yeah.
They turn up late.
I would watch a spin-off show, spin-off movie, spin-off anything with all these characters.
Which shows that they did the job right.
Absolutely.
They wanted so much more at everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's given that this is a Miles origin story. It's got to do Miles's whole origin and put him in the middle of this and actually give you enough of the other characters and Spider-Man Noir with the Rubik's Cube. And it's just there is enough there. Have I got that far ahead again?
No, he's taking the cube.
Yeah.
In black and white. I love
Black
that.
and white, yeah.
I now want to see, like Miles obviously still has this giant cartoon mallet in continuity.
But yeah, I mean, even this scene, going into this movie, you wouldn't think that you get the scene before the big villain fight. This happens normally after the big villain fight, after Kingpin's taken down.
Well, it makes
so
sense,
even this,
doesn't it?
Because that is centering it on focusing on Miles' story again, which is great. It would have been very easy for them to lose their way in that regard, but they kept their focus all the way through. It's really, really good.
I freaking love Jake Johnson. I was so bummed to see him go away at this part of the movie, but then I'm like, no, it's Miles' movie.
Yeah.
There's someone's PlayStation controller floating around in there.
Yep.
Sony got their product placement in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Xboxes in this world.
Yeah, could have been rocking on that line. Like, how did they get away with actually having that?
I mean, they do say, is he legally allowed to say that?
Yeah, but just remarking on
they checked.
That,
It's parody, it's protected speech.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah, see, people just quoting lines now because really good lines.
So good. We're giving a lot of love to Lord and Miller, and rightfully so. We should also give some love to Peter Ramsey.
Oh God, yeah. All the directors. Peter
All three directors, yeah.
Kingpin is no slouch.
There is I think I seem to remember we talked about it when we did our episode on this when it came out as to whether, and because Dan, you talked before about how good the sort of Kingpin being the Bill Sienkiewicz version is, and whether it's is he too stylized compared with everything else, but the movie's it's a comic book on the screen, so actually anything to do with Kingpin's family just makes me think of Brubaker, Bendis' Daredevil runs.
I like that. It humanizes him.
Oh. Not just that, it shows you family's important to everyone.
Oh.
Speaking of family.
Yeah. It's almost like it's on purpose.
Comics guys, does Kingpin have superhuman strength in the comics?
He is as strong as you need him to be. It's like, that's a kind of rule in comics. You're as strong as you need to be to do the story beat.
I guess with Kingpin,
he's like peak human.
I was going to say it's kind of the
be for his
Batman
frame.
thing, isn't it? It's like he doesn't have powers, but he's about as strong as a person can be.
Yeah.
But he doesn't technically have superpowers or anything like that.
No.
No.
His superpower is evading the law.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a bunch of New York specific jokes going on here. One earlier as well.
Look, as someone who doesn't come from New York, I love the MTA. Whenever I get to go there.
Yeah, but
this is great.
That was a comment from a New York assemblyman. So thank you.
Yeah.
Someone serving the people. Eileen knew. So I'm so proud.
But I this is probably my one little nitpicky criticism about this movie. It's not just related to this movie; it's more related to
is this it? He was able to kill Chris Pine, but Miles is able to slough it off.
Basically, yeah, and just like the power levels and the damage levels, you don't really get to see what they are.
Well,
they vary so much that the becomes unclear.
He's had a fight. He's a little tired. He's not at peak.
And similarly, when
this is me no prizing it.
And when he killed Peter, it was the other way around. Like Peter was lying in rubble and had just had a fight with the Green Goblin. So
it's the Captain Picard thing. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose.
Here we go. He defeats Uncle Aaron's killer with the move that Uncle Aaron taught him, living up to his full potential. Yay, storytelling.
Honestly, sort of thing you think of, like, you know what, I'm taking a day off because we're awesome. At least I would if I was one. So amazing.
The thing is, when you see stuff like that done, where little moments like that pay off, and everything obviously has a point, it just makes you go, why don't people do this all the time?
Yeah,
well, it requires effort and love.
Sometimes they try and it doesn't work.
But and also, we live in a society where work has to get done on a schedule.
Not that you'd know it from the way I turn pieces in.
Ditto.
Oh, the music, everything about this. Love you, movie.
Visuals. That's great.
One of the things that I think is so impressive, and the shot there kind of that had it reminded me of it, is that like for so long, just like sticking Ben-Day dots on something was such a kind of hackneyed and lame way of going, oh look, this is comics, and I partly blame Roy Lichtenstein for that, the massive thief. But here, it's so cool.
It's done out of love. It's what I love. You play the PS4 game. You can get the Peter Parker suit, the Chris Pine suit, and it's got that design on it. And when you zoom in, it's got the Ben-Day dots. It's got that. Oh, this is so cool. You can play that.
I think this film has made it cool again. The way that just by doing it and doing it with the kind of the slightly off print, the colors being slightly out of sync with each other. It's just it's brilliant.
I'd like to say it's because it's affectionate, not because it's shorthand.
Yeah,
it's not lazy. a lot of effort.
It understands why they're there in the first place. So it's
This film is so visually distinctive, even like a couple of years on.
Yeah,
like there's nothing that looks like it even now.
Yeah,
very true.
I'm going to put up a comment that I bet Dan can't respond to.
Dude, I can't answer. Get out of here.
But I think I speak for us all when I say massively looking forward to the She-Hulk TV show. And if it has anything to do with your run on the comic, I think we'll all be very happy.
The She-Hulk TV show is easily the Marvel thing.
It would be great if I could comment what I was doing in LA in February at Marvel Studios and then later at Sony. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. But I go away with that stuff. You get me in trouble. Everyone knows I did it. I posted pictures on my Twitter.
Yeah.
But, what?
Oh, wait. Here comes. He's left the note. And he's done it in his own style. Oh man. I could watch this. And they're doing the exact same sequence from the beginning of the movie that they did here and they did at Visions. But now he's doing his Spider-Man. He's found his pattern, he found his walk, but he still screws up because he's Spider-Man. And there's a payoff here from the Peter B. Parker with the drone when he talked about everything he did.
Yeah.
So it puts him in sync with that Spider-Man too. Here it comes. Boom. Status quo change. And they're all, it's like he earns his plates by being on the gargoyle. There's
this is a perfect movie. When I watched this for the first time, it was this scene. I was like, "Holy crap! This movie is perfect."
You could wear the mask.
That's it, isn't it? That's there's something that I really love, and I think I am going to talk about it. Even though, again, I think I have already gone slightly ahead of you, but that final sequence. It seems to me like they are kind of deliberately calling to mind that obviously the final swinging sequence at the end of the first Raimi Spider-Man.
I'll give you that, but you know what the real deal with that was? They with the first Raimi Spider-Man, and you can see it because the comic book adaptations. When we do the comic book adaptations, it's live.
Oh yeah.
Before they do the final cut of the movie. And they ended on that funeral sequence, and they went, "Wow, that's a downer." And so they added that.
So they add,
you leave feeling good, but they knew that going into the Raimi movie, so they had an extra sequence where Peter's at the Bugle, and he's at the Bugle, and there's like sirens or something, and he has to quickly change. And Hoffman, Sam Raimi's brother, goes looking for Jonah, and he finds Peter Parker's clothes in the stock room. And J. Jonah Jameson goes, "What? I don't want Peter Parker's clothes. I want Parker!" And then you cut him swinging, and they kind of realized that was one beat too many, and they cut that out. But you can see it in the Alan Davis drawn adaptation. And you just go, "Wow, that is a bad ending to that perfect movie."
But I think with this one, what feels like the crucial difference is that it ends up like the last shot of the Raimi it's Spider-Man, and it's Spider-Man on the flagpole. This does the Spider-Man swinging through, but the last shot is Miles. It's like having done him as Spider-Man, the last shot is Miles, and that's a big difference. But no, we did a thing about on our site about that adaptation of the Alan Davis, the technically credited as being written by Stan Lee, but clearly actually written by Brian Michael Bendis adaptation of the movie. It's a fun one.
Oh man, these end credits are gorgeous.
Yeah, they are.
And on an ego level, I love that some of my costumes make it in there. Costumes I co-created with my artists, but they're in there, and it makes me happy.
Do you get a credit here, Dan?
No, but they flew me to LA, and I got to go to the premiere, and it was awesome. And here's a fun story. Like, whenever you do one of these premieres, they always have these amazing after parties with tons of swag, and you're hanging out with everybody, and it's really cool. They at this one, they had these special little sections that were roped off, so any of the big stars or producers or directors could go to like a little like break area if they were tired of pressing the flesh and saying hi to everybody during the party. And then they had people that, like a security person and a gopher who would go get them like hors d'oeuvres and things that were being passed around at the party. And I'm there with all these comic book guys. I'm there with Giuseppe Camicoli and Robbie and Rico and Jason Latour and all these different guys. And we're all walking around in the swanky after party, and we see that one of these little areas is offset for Bendis, because Bendis is like had so much to do with the movie, and Bendis wasn't there for the premiere. And here he had this whole little section roped off with a reserved for Brian Michael Bendis thing. And I'm looking at all the guys, and I'm like, let's steal Brian's area. And they're like, they will stop us. You know, like people were like, do not do this. And I'm like, we're comic book people. They don't know us from ads. They don't know who the hell we are. And I'm like, just follow my lead. And I go walking up to this swanky little private area for Brian with this little name plaque. And I'm like, hi, yeah, we're here for this. And the main security guy goes, are you Brian Michael Bendis? And I went, we are the Brian Michael Bendis party. And there's a pause, and the guy goes, okay, and he takes the velvet rope and he moves it aside. And we have this swanky ass area, people waiting on us, people like hanging out, and then like go over and talk to the stars and other people in the swanky area. We're just kicking back. And my favorite thing I have from the Spider-Verse premiere, I was an idiot. I was walking around with a Spider-Verse hardcover and treating it like a high school yearbook and getting everybody to sign it. But I was like, my favorite thing I stole, not even that, is I have the reserved for Brian Michael Bendis placard. I just took it. I love it. Like, suck it, Brian! I got your spot, man! I got your spot!
You need to put that over a picture of Miles Morales, like reserved for Brian Michael
Bendis. It was great, man. I got to meet Jake Johnson. I got to meet all these people. It was awesome. And I got to hang out with Spider-Man, Spider-Verse guys. So yeah, it was. I cannot love this movie more. I cannot, love the whole franchise, everything, and the fact that this is so many people's entry point into Spider-Man. And by entry point, now you know who Spider-Gwen is, you know who Miles is, you know who Spider-Ham is. You're open not just to Spider-Man like when I was a kid. You're open to a universe.
You're open to that idea that there's so much Spider out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully you can go out and you can learn about Spider-Man, and you can learn about all the other weird guys that are floating out there. I love that some kid might want to pick up the Spider-Man Noir book now. It's just great.
Yeah. So before we get to the post-credits, while the credits are still rolling, can we rank Spider-Man films? I think ranking Spider-Man films is quite easy, to be honest. I don't think it's a controversial conversation.
I think the top three is pretty much a no-brainer, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Spider-Verse.
Now that I said that, I think Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, and I think probably Raimi's Spider-Man 1 as well.
Well, okay, see, I'm going to go... See, you're saying Homecoming. I'm saying Far From Home.
You think better Homecoming?
I like Far From Home
better than Homecoming.
Better than Homecoming. Homecoming, but I think Homecoming has... almost tied with this for the Miles leap. It's definitely the greatest live action Spider-Man sequence ever filmed, and Spider-Man isn't in it. It's Peter the minute he shows up to Liz's door.
Yeah.
And from the minute he drops him off at Homecoming, that entire sequence, even though Spider-Man has never had a moment like that in the comics, it's the most Spider-Man-ish thing in the world.
Absolutely.
You pick up your homecoming date, and it's your villain's
dad is
daughter,
the supervillain. Yeah.
and he drives you there and learns your secret identity.
That is, yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
The best thing about that as well is that even if you're a comics fan going in, you don't see that.
Exactly, because we talked before about with Prowler. Like with Prowler, you know from Ultimate Spider-Man that Aaron is the Prowler. But we, as comics fans, go to see Homecoming, and because like that's not the relationship in the comics, completely blindsides you. It's amazing.
I was in the press screening for Homecoming, and the reaction that scene got, like it took everyone by like 5 seconds, and everyone started. We were clapping for a good 15 seconds as the scene was playing in the press screening. That doesn't happen ever. It was incredible.
I almost had that scene ruined for me by Chip Zdarsky. Chip and I were filming something for Marvel.com, and somehow he had gotten an advanced screening of it, and the Marvel screener for us in New York hadn't happened yet, and he screwed up. He got the beat wrong. He was like, "Yeah, wasn't that weird when Zendaya's father ended up being?" Because he said Zendaya, and it wasn't Zendaya. So I'm watching this movie, going, "God damn you, Chip!" And I'm watching it, and I kept waiting for Zendaya's father to show up. And so the bit still snookered me. It's still like, "What? What is his dad?" And Chip got so close to messing that with me. One of the greatest moments. It's like someone telling you, "Oh, where do you see Empire Strikes Back? It's his dad." Man. Rosebud's a slug. You love it. It was Earth all along.
But we cannot agree this is top, can't we? Like this is.
It's not close.
I still love Spider-Man 2. But
Raimi 2 is.
I'm with you. Spider-Man 2 is just, and the best moment of Spider-Man 2. I don't care. I will fight you to the grave. It is the chocolate cake. It's when the world has you at your lowest. When you're Spider-Man, you're Peter Parker, you're at your lowest moment ever. The universe gives you chocolate cake.
I'm not saying it's Spider-Man, but the best moment in Spider-Man 2? No.
That's it. No. Chocolate cake, man. Chocolate cake every time. The other moment I dearly love, people are like, "How dare you love that moment? You don't understand Spider-Man." It's the moment where the sirens go by and he eats the hot dog. He's totally given up on being Spider-Man, and he's so happy.
He really forcefully eats the hot dog. He's like, hot dog.
And it's the moment where someone's getting mugged, and he doesn't know what to do. And people are like, "No, that sounds Spider-Man would go and help." I'm like, no. Spider-Man is the hero with feet of clay. He will screw up.
Yeah. He doesn't want to, but he feels he has to.
Here comes.
Yeah. I can't believe they did this.
I'm watching this, the Marvel screener. The minute Nuevo York shows up, you hear from the back of the theater, "Ah!" I go, Peter David.
I was about to say, Peter David.
It was Peter David.
So
Isaac, you got us
no idea. I just did.
Man, the next time anyone interviews Oscar Isaac for anything, ask him about this, please.
You're being very...
It's like after having such a beautiful movie all the way as well, the way it's so crude and perfect.
That was fun.
So that's Into the Spider-Verse. That's the best Spider-Man movie until they make Into the Spider-Verse 2. Yeah, I'm going to throw out one comment here, which is, can we have both Miguel and Ben Reilly in the sequel? As a massive Ben Reilly fan, I have to agree with that one. But yeah, I mean, thanks to everybody for watching. We had more people watching than the previous weeks, so that thanks for all your comments. I know I haven't been able to kind of get through all of them and get as many up, but I've been keeping an eye on all of the chat that's been going on. So thanks for doing that, and thanks to Dan. Like,
thank you, Cinematic.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for all of your insights into things. It's been very exciting.
Thanks for all the comics as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anybody got any last comments on this before I drop us off?
I mean, just that. I mean, it won Best Animated Movie at the Oscars. It should have won Best Movie as well.
Yes. Yes.
It's an incredible movie. You know, it's not only the best animated movie of 2018. It's the best film of 2018. It's the best superhero movie of 2018. It's the best Spider-Man film of all time.
It's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's totally up there. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks everybody, and yeah, thanks again to everybody for watching. My goodbyes are always incredibly awkward on these, so.
I'll be
so plug our podcast, Seth.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. If you're watching, go to cinematicuniverse.com. We have a podcast, 5 years worth of podcasts about all of this stuff and using about this stuff mostly. And all of those.
I'll be doing some more Spider-Verse tweeting over my Twitter feed for a little bit.
Yes,
look forward to it.
Thank you guys.
Know that Dan is Dan SLOTT on Twitter, so go and read his comments on this.
and thank you guys for having me over. This was a hoot. This was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers. Thanks everybody.
All right. Bye everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.